Hey guys, this is Dean with the Two Party Podcast. I'm on here with Bobby Sausalito, Bobby Sauce, he's also known as. I just want to welcome him to the show. He's a first-time guest on the show. I'm hoping he'll be back in the future. We like to get all our guests to come back. But Bobby, I'm going to go ahead and give you an opportunity. I want you to tell the audience just a little bit about yourself, who you are, and then we'll just jump right into it.
Sure. So I'm a web developer originally from Connecticut, lived in South Florida now for 10 years, moved down here to escape the cold. I've been building websites and been an independent internet entrepreneur for about 13 years now. And I started making kind of like funny political views or videos on Instagram because I was so frustrated with how insane everything was. I always made myself to be, quite a kind of a funny person, but never really knew that it would be funny on a large level. I had an Instagram video kind of have some virality back in August. I had 1,500 followers, mostly friends and people that I'd known throughout my life. Made a video about the DNC the first night after it started, and got 60,000 views overnight. And then I was like, let me see if I could do this again. So I started making videos every 2 days. Eventually realized that up until the election, I could really turn up the heat. So I started making them like 5-6 days a week. And now I do live streams. I kind of like put my business on the back burner, and I've been yelling in my phone on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube for the last 4.5 months. And people seem to really like it. The account's growing a lot, and I'm just along for the ride.
That's huge. That's huge. Now I found you. I was kind of busting your balls through Messenger trying to get you on the show because we're a relatively new show. We started last September in the middle of the stupid ass pandemic. I literally, I'm a general contractor by trade. I'm a business owner here in Tulsa. I've been doing construction 27 years, 40 different states. I am tired. And so I'm like, I want to get out of construction. And then we're in the middle of this pandemic, and Tulsa never really did a lockdown. They kind of just told everybody stay home, and nobody did it. No, everybody was like, screw you, we're in a red state, we don't care. And so nice. Nobody stayed home. Everybody was out working. They were like, they called essential workers, and everybody was out. There was nobody staying home.
Nice.
And so it was cool on that aspect. But I for a while, because my wife she had a couple of health issues with some surgeries going on. So just to be a good husband and a person, a human being, I said, I'll stay home from work. Because I don't want to go out there working, come home, bring it to you, and you got these surgeries you're fixing to go through and put you at risk. So I just said, I'll stay home. Well, in the midst of it, I'm not a person that can stay home. I get bored. And so I was like, hey, I got the studio out here that I kind of record music. I suck on that guitar right there, but I try. But it's like I've been trying to like get back in the studio, do some music, do some different things that I get into as a hobby. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do a freaking podcast. Screw it. What do I got to lose? And so I started doing it in September. And I mean, within 2 weeks, we started hitting really hard. And like, next thing I know, I got people coming on. The first couple of guests I interviewed, I started getting bombarded with guest interviews. And I'm like, well, maybe this is something I can do. And my wife's always telling me to shut up because I talk too much. And, so that kind of was like, great, that's nice. And she's like, you'll be great at this because you never shut up. So I kind of went that route, but I started busting your balls because I was like, I liked what I was hearing. I follow you on Instagram. I was like, dude, he's talking a straight message. Even when you get out of control funny with stuff, like I get it. Like I can understand the emotions that you get into it. And I'm like, dude, I totally understand where he's coming from because I feel the exact same way. The world's going to hell in a handbasket.
Yeah, that is certainly true.
Yeah. And the election, we could go back. The pandemic sucks. The election sucked. I don't know that too much last year is worth even remembering. I kind of feel like I should have just been knocked out of my misery last year, and we would have been good up to this year.
Yeah.
Of course, then I would have woke up and been like, oh, it's shit wagons going into the White House, right?
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah. Joey Basement. Not looking forward to that very much.
I mean, give me just a breakdown. Give me a breakdown on like your whole perspective between last year and right now.
Well, I think that generally speaking, most people are not interested in political happenings, primarily because they don't feel A, that it affects them directly, B, it's boring. It's C-SPAN. It's pundits saying this guy sucks, and then the other pundit saying this guy sucks. You don't know what's the truth. It's a headache, honestly, and it's not fun. And if you could watch, true crime documentaries, or if you could watch Tiger King, or if you could watch The Real Housewives and watch them pull each other's hair, and if you could watch The Simpsons, why are you going to watch this, right? So it doesn't really hit home until it affects your wallet, till it affects your health, till it affects your family, your community, your neighborhood. So people just don't care. They bury their head in the sand as it relates to that, because it's like, you know, the kind of like old adage when you grow up is like, government's corrupt, they suck. You know, if you ever see government do something, they do it horrible. If you get a government contract, you make God money, and then you know you don't have to do work. If you work for the government, you never get fired. You could be lazy. All these kind of like normal things. And that's like, if you're a politician, you're corrupt. You got to be a weird person to even be a politician.
Yeah.
So it's just like it's just all this bad. And I think that generally, the general disposition towards government, politics, and whatever is like, you don't talk about politics. You don't talk about politics because you're going to disagree with your friends and family. You're going to lose social. So it's like there's this huge negative stigma around it that makes it's like no one wants to touch it. The problem is that indifference to what happens doesn't hit home until it hits home. And then you're like, wait, you mean I can't go to work? Wait, you mean my kids can't go to school? Wait, you mean I got to pay more taxes? Wait, you mean we're going to war? Wait, you mean there's an attack? Wait. And then all this stuff starts to just hit you. And unless it hits you all in once and bombards you, you don't pay attention. So this year kind of like brought it to the forefront, not to mention it's an election year and Trump is a polarizing figure. And, you know, the media is bombarding you with this show because, you know, the news media has been losing trust for many years. The stock of the news media and the value that they create for your everyday person is going down. They got to find a way to create ratings. So here was their golden goose. We're going to turn Trump into this polarizing demon figure, this evil overlord, and we're going to rip it up and down. Every time he got on TV, every time you put him in your news article, every time you put him in the newspaper, in a magazine, it was polarizing. I hate that guy, or I love that guy. It's this emotion. And in media, and really just in anything, but especially media, if you can instill emotion, you can get attention, because people are either very, very in love or very, very in hate. And that emotion causes sharing, commenting, interacting, and thus raises your stock and value. So I think that what happened is you got all this stuff that's hitting home, and then you got this polarizing figure that's everybody loves to hate. And then you got the other side of people that like finally understand, and then we all want to hate all them. And then it's just like, it just became this huge divide where it's like, if we can pit these two factions against each other, we've got must-see TV. So you have the combination of these two things, and then you have this China virus coming in here, and now it's affecting everybody. They're home, they're looking at their TV, they're looking for answers, and they go to this exact same structure that they've never trusted, never paid attention to, never cared about. And here it is, clapping their wallet, clapping their kids' lives, and infecting their daily life. So now it's like, wait, which side are you on? Now it's like, I can't.
You have to choose a side now.
Got to pick a side. So it's like, who's the easiest side to pick? Who's the surface level guy that's easy to hate?
And and nobody wants to pick the losing side.
Right. You want to pick you watch TV, you turn on 10 TV shows, and it's like, Trump is a demon, Trump is a Nazi, Trump is a racist, Trump's a white supremacist, Trump. And it's like, fuck that guy. Fuck that guy. You go to a concert, they're like, fuck Donald Trump. It's the easiest guy to hate. And the problem is that everybody goes that way initially because it's easy. You're convinced. It's just the people that look deeper, as I like to say, you look deep. They look a little deeper, and then they're like, wait a second. You mean that this is the first president to get to not put us into a war in years and years and years? You mean this guy is helping to create peace in the Middle East? You mean this guy is moving the embassy to Israel when all the other presidents said they would and then didn't? You mean this guy is going up against all the people that have been lying and deceiving us, and he's telling them right to their face, you're fake, your news is garbage, which everybody knows if they ever get in it. And this guy is completely outside of the box. He can't be bought off. He can't be sold. He can't be sold. He's not beholden to anybody. He's not taking a salary. He's doing all the right things if you look below the surface and below his character and rhetoric.
If you can get past the media, like just past, the reason I do the news breakdowns, we call it on our show. The reason I do those is I don't usually read through the articles. I literally go through the headlines, because you can read through the headlines of anything nowadays. And most people are so dumb in America. We've dumbed down the nation and the society that you can literally just read headlines. When you see two people arguing on Facebook, what are they doing? They're arguing and posting articles. That's all they're doing is posting articles against each other. Like Trump
Yeah.
said this, Trump said that. Well, look, it says over here on this headline. Nobody ever reads the articles anymore. You know, it's like, and it's not even worth reading them anyhow because they're all op-eds. But it's like, it's so funny because we do the news breakdown, and that's why I do them. I literally do the news breakdowns because I try to express and show the audience, like, this is the idiotic headline you're reading, and then this is what's behind it. And I'll give a perspective of that.
Yep.
Because like you said, when you dig a little deeper, it doesn't take much. You don't have to be a genius to go research. It's like, I feel like we got to go back to the card catalog in the library when we were in elementary school. You know what I mean? The Dewey Decimal System needs to make a comeback so people will actually read.
The problem is that generally speaking, in an instantaneously gratifying world, you don't want to do work, and laziness is the inherent default. The de facto process is let someone else serve me the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And up until this point in time, that has been moderately effective. You know, my parents' generation, they watch the news. It's the 5 o'clock news. They like this anchor. They don't like this anchor. They don't like his voice. They like her voice, whatever. And that's the news. The news is the news. And you just assume that that's what it is. You read the newspaper. The newspaper was the one that was uncovering all the evil back in the day. And in a lot of ways, they still are. But like you said, it's like now news media they're political activists.
Yep.
They're not actually objective journalists, because objective journalism isn't a position. And because you want somebody to tell you how to think because you're lazy and you don't usually care, it's just much easier to be like, just tell me. And that's how everyone defaults, because like there's only so much time in the day and there's all this stimuli, right? You're out there working, you're out there, you know, you're taking care of your family, you're taking care of yourself. There's so much to manage. And then everything's moving 1,000 miles an hour. You're like, all right, we live in this modern age. Like somebody should just digest this. So what you do is you just try to find some people that you can trust or institutions that you can trust, and you just rely on that person to be the straight shooter. And the problem with that is that it allows you to shift responsibility for discovering things on your own to a third party. Yeah. And then when things go awry, you don't understand that person can be filtering that information to give you what you think is the truth, to give you something that you like to hear. And the problem is that if you don't take the time to research it, you're being misinformed. And it's sad because everybody doesn't have the time. And like, you know, I don't have kids. I'm not married. The simple fact that I save that 2.5 to 3 hours a day leaves me open to things like this, right? The fact that I don't work 10 hours, I don't have to put in overtime like that. Like I work my traditional job and I hustled and all that, but like I work from home. Think about working from home. I don't drive to work. That's 30 minutes. I don't drive home from work. That's 30 minutes. I don't get up early to take a shower to put my dress shirt on. I don't have to go to the dry cleaners. I'm saving 30 minutes all this time throughout the week. So even just working at home avails me to an extra 4 hours a week that I can do research, right? Yep. Not having kids, there's another 4 hours. Not having a wife, there's another 4 hours. And that 16 hours is when I do this type of research, or at least when I did it in the past. So not every person has that. So when you start doing that much, you're like, yo, like people aren't seeing this. And Elon Musk said it one time, and I don't want to butcher the quote, but it was something along the lines of this. He's like, if I work a 50-hour week and everybody else works a 40-hour week, by the time we've gone 10 weeks, you know, I'm a week ahead of you, or whatever the math is. Yeah. I'm a week ahead. If you do that for a year, I'm a month ahead. You do that for 10 years, I'm 2 years ahead of you. Something like that. Yeah. You get the gist. Yeah. So it's just like, if you have that time, I'm further along. And the fact that everything is hitting 24/7, new. It's like, you can't even keep track. It's not like learning how to cook a turkey. You learn it, you practice it, that's it. Now you know how to cook a turkey. Right. It's like, you got to decipher this stuff in real time. So your vast majority of people don't have the time. And then even if they did have the time, do they have the critical thinking depth necessary at that time of the day after working all day to really go deep and analyze it? And they just don't.
Yeah, so most people are tired and they just get home, they just want to kick their feet off and relax.
So people like you and me and whoever else, the people that look in, we're like sitting here like, yo, guys, the house is on fire.
Right.
And they're like, just call the fire department. You know what I mean? It's like, no, like we got to put this shit out now. Like this is like, we're going to die. And it's sad because it's like, the house is on fire and everyone's like, I'm going to go out front and call the fire department and like, wait.
Right.
And that's just the general disposition. It's like, I don't need to protect myself. I'll call the police. I don't need to, I don't need to have a fire extinguisher. We'll call the fire.
I was just going to say, I don't even think people carry fire extinguishers anymore.
Right.
So they don't even while the house is on fire, they're not going to put it out.
Which is tragic. And like, I don't have a fire extinguisher in my house, and I fucking should. I mean, that's stupid.
Right.
That's stupid. Like, I'm going to go on Amazon today and I'm going to order one.
I ordered two. Funny thing is when the pandemic stuff hit and they were discussing, we talked about this a little bit, is in this state, they didn't lock down, but we did, me and my wife were worried about it. So we were transitioning a little bit, and we were going to go into do some transportation. So we had to get DOT approved and the whole nine. And part of getting DOT approved was your vehicles have to have, certain they have to have the certain safety and hazard, side of the road stuff, and extinguishers. So it's funny, you mentioned going on Amazon. So I did a whole search for fire extinguishers to have on our vehicles. So now we do have them at our house and we didn't before. It was like, well, if our house burnt down, I guess we just run outside, watch it burn.
Yep.
But now it's like we have fire extinguishers in the house because because we were going to transition and do some DOT stuff. Mm-hmm. But you're right. It's like the world. There you go. It's like the world's on fire and nobody's really cares. They want to look at the footnotes, like you said. They don't want to dig deep. They want to look at the footnotes.
Yep.
And they want a lot. But what's sad to me is like exactly what you just touched on. And what's sad to me is that people don't have time to really research stuff. So they just take it for what it is. They read a headline, they read a paragraph of an article while they're like in a waiting room or sitting on the toilet, whatever they're doing. And that's it. And then the next thing you know, they're a genius on the subject and they're arguing on social media.
Yep. No, that's absolutely true. And like, it just sucks because I think that the sad part of it all, and this is kind of where you get to once you go mega deep into things, is like, I think about how I approached school. When I was in middle school, I remember being young and being very hyper self-aware. Mm-hmm. And I remember thinking to myself, like, how do I be successful in my life? And I was like, you got to remember this. You got to remember what it's like to be young so that you know how to treat your kids one day. You got to remember this moment. And it was one of those weird things where I was like, does anybody else feel this way, Right. And I remember when I was 18, I remember thinking to myself, if I do something from when I'm 18 to when I'm 40, I'll be a millionaire because I started when I was 18. I remember reading all these stories of guys like I started when I was 12, whatever. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to be that guy. I was that guy. But anyways, the point is that when I was in school, I didn't think that I was there to learn. I thought I was there because you go to school. I didn't understand what it was. I didn't even understand the significance. I didn't understand it. It was like no one ever laid it out to me like these are the fundamental building blocks in which the rest of your life's work will be on. It was just like, oh, I got to pass history. So it's like you read the cliff notes. You don't read the book. You don't think about why you should read the book. You don't understand the purpose. You just know that you have to do this. And it's because you are faced with this very, very binary objective, which is like, get this A so your parents aren't on your back. That's it. It wasn't about learning the shit. It was about passing the shit.
Yeah.
And that's because you have this kind of government indoctrinated school structure that's based on everybody doing the same thing. Absolutely no reward for being entrepreneurial. Absolutely no reward for being somebody that cares more about nature than they do about math, or cares more about science than they do about history, or whatever. It doesn't embrace your unique attributes that make you great. It doesn't embrace the charter school, trade school mentality that each individual person is uniquely suited and fit to do some things. And that is where it all begins. And that mindset structurally begins there. And that's another reason why I'm so interested in politics, because it's like, we're literally doing a disservice to the kids by not changing this shit. And I feel in a lot of ways disenfranchised by not my parents, but their generation, the generation before them, and really everyone, because it's like, wait, you let the Federal Reserve print us into oblivion. We're in a fucking $27 trillion of debt. Wait, you let us go to war and have all of this bad shit. Wait, you let these schools be dog shit. You let all this stuff be this way. Like, this sucks. And it's just that it all begins there. And it's like the school system is what I think one of the greatest threats to our value is that, like, there was no. I talk about this all the time. Why is there not a class on how to do your taxes? Why is there not a class on how to open a bank account? Why the actual fuck did no one ever tell me how a credit score worked before I was 26 years old? That is
it's crucial.
A disservice, a grave disservice. To not tell someone how a credit score works when they're fucking 18 is disgusting, in my opinion, because this single thing dictates so much in your life that it's just tragic. Why did no one teach me how to do laundry? Why did no one
Right.
teach me how to fucking iron? You know,
Yeah.
it's tragic. And I think that a lot of the problems in the world start there. And we're on this very, very volatile path. And what I realized, the deeper that I got into this, is that if we, me, you, don't individually input back into this, instead of just being like, fuck, this sucks.
Yeah.
We're no better than them. And to me, it's like a purpose call. And, you know, you could easily say like, you're just making videos on Instagram, or you're just blank, and anybody could dismiss, but I'm like, this is just how I know how to do it now. And I'm just doing the best I can to get the word out, to use the talents that I have to broadcast this message and try to make a change.
Right.
And anybody else that has a different set of skills should be utilizing and activating those skills to push back towards changing this, because it starts at one person. And that's why I'm here. That's why I talk like this. That's why I do this shit. It's not about making funny videos. It's about thought leading. And could I leave an indelible mark that will change how this would work in my own little way? You got to start somewhere. And this to me makes the most sense as the way that I can do it.
That totally makes sense. And you said something that's very interesting, as far as like, you know, on several different aspects, as far as like, I remember growing up too, back in the day, you weren't, you know, you didn't talk about religion, you didn't talk about politics, you didn't talk about certain things. And I always thought to myself, this hit me like a couple days ago, when I was having this discussion about the same thing of how we never used to be able to talk about this stuff. But it's, I always wondered, if we weren't allowed to talk about politics, was it because the politicians didn't want us to get into their game? Because they were like, well, if nobody talks about it at the dinner table, then they're not going to know we're corrupt assholes, you know, because nobody will discuss it. But, you know, it's just a thought, you know, an idea. But as far as education, I agree with you there too. You know, when I was growing up, we had, you know, I guess maybe I'm 40, I'll be 45 next month. So, I mean, I don't know. How old are you?
33.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're still, well, they still had these things in your school when you were in school too, because when I was growing up, we had marine mechanics, we had a shop, we had home ec, we had where they taught. Now I went to home ec because I wanted to know how to sew. I wanted to know how to use a keyboard, but there was hot chicks in there. That's why I went. That was just me back then. But it's one of those things, like, they had all these things, like you said, and they taught us certain things. And I remember there was only like once in school, I remember they gave out the little fake checkbooks, and everyone had to learn how to do their own checkbook and accounting type thing. But it was one time, one class, that was it. It wasn't extensive. They didn't, like you say, they didn't dive into business. They didn't dive into like, well, if you bounce your check, your credit's going to suck. They didn't tell us any of that. You know, there was none of that.
Well, the thing is that what I remember from school is that those things that were actually valuable were very, no one expressed the significance of them. So let me give you an example. The home ec teacher was a pushover. As a guy, and I'm sure you can attest to this. If you had a female teacher, not that I'm fucking sexist, it's just that you're like trying to like work your angle. You're like, how do I like be like cute, stupid guy? Like, oops, like, sorry, Mrs. Such and such. Like, you know, like hit her with a couple jokes and like be kind of sweet and like kind of skirt by and be like, oh, I'm just the stupid football jock. Like I can't, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you work your angle. And I think that in high school and middle school, no one ever explained to us the severity and the meaning of them. They were like ancillary classes, like who cares? You got to pass history, but if you fail home ec, who gives a shit? And that teacher is like not the sharpest teacher, right? And not the best teacher. She couldn't control the room. She wasn't disciplined, right? Like, and the only teachers of home ec and gym and whatever that were very good were the ones that you're like, that guy's a dick, or like that lady's a bitch, because they had to be mean and disciplinarian in order to get you and fall in line. Whereas other teachers used intellect to almost like outsmart you into wanting to do it. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like there's two styles. Like I played a lot of sports. There's two styles of coach. There's the coach that scares the shit out of you. That tells you you're a fucking asshole. You're gonna run laps. You fucking suck. Then there's the other coach that makes you want to do well because he's so amazing. Like my high school football coach, I didn't want to disappoint him. He was like my fucking dad. And like, I didn't want to disappoint Coach Drury. He didn't say you're going to run laps. It wasn't punishment. It was positive. I wanted him to be like, great job. It's different teaching styles. That's the thing, is like your home ec, your shop, your graphic design class, all those guys, those were pushover guys, weak guys, beta style guys. And same with the women. And they didn't have that. They didn't use intellect to outsmart us into doing the right thing. If the teacher had given us incentives that made us want to bake the best quiche, want to sew the best thing, if they could have used that intellect, that sharpness to get us there and help us understand the severity, it would have had more impact. So what are the classes in high school that didn't fucking matter? At least certainly didn't seem like they mattered. And I remember this vividly because, like I said, I was hyper aware in high school. Home ec, whatever. Shop class, I'm like gluing shit. The guy was a pushover. Like, you pass as long as you were, as long as you were buddy with the guy.
We always hit out. Like shop class, we always like hit out in the lumber pile, and exactly. That was it.
Exactly. No value to it.
Teacher didn't even look for us.
Then what else? Yeah, health class. I had a health class teacher. My health class teacher, God bless her, 350 pounds, huge.
Right.
We're in the, you know what I mean? We're not even, whatever. We had a class called School to Career. And it was all about analyzing what your skills are as a person and how it would bring you to a career. That could have been the most crucial class ever. And where were we? We were in the computer lab. 90% of us, the smart ones, we sat in the back row where we could play video games until she came over to look at our stuff. Stupid. They should have been in a circle. Just shit like that. It wasn't value, and like you outsmart it. Then think about other classes that didn't matter. Gym, exercise. You think about, you're like, oh, gym, we're gonna play dodgeball. It wasn't like, hey, we like, how many sit-ups can you do? How many push-ups can you do? This is how you do yoga. This is how you breathe. Like this is the types of clothes well, none of that shit. It's do jumping jacks, square dance, and that's it. None of it was never important. Yeah. And I think that's the thing, is like the classes that would have or should have been the most important weren't. And the classes that you really could have learned about history, it was like write a 5,000 page book.
Right. Yeah.
Instead of understand the severity. And it was always what to think, not how to think. It was always what to think, not how to think. It's like, this is what happened. The Indians came to America. They discovered America. No possible, maybe you should question this. No. Hey, listen, America is the greatest nation the world has ever known. Here's why. It was always like, I remember learning in high school, like abortion, for example, like abortion is good because all of these people were killing themselves, and you learn this one side of it. I remember in high school thinking that war was good for the economy. Oh, in wartime, we produced all this stuff. It's good for the economy. No one ever fucking told me that war means people are fucking dying. Yeah. Like, you didn't understand. You were just like, oh, wartime is good for the economy. I literally remember learning that in high school. And later in life, I'm like, holy shit. Like, that is a horrible precedent to teach. Oh, we all rallied because people were getting murdered. Like, it's just
we wanted our economy to be stimulated because we dropped a bomb on a bunch of kids and moms.
Yep. And there would literally be like a question on the test, like what times were the most beneficial to the economy? It's like World War II, World War I, like when everyone rallied around, not about like all the people that lost their lives, not about how whatever. And like, I'll say this, it was the women went and worked and they helped produce the bullets, and there was a lot of that stuff, and that was great, but just not giving us the depth of understanding to recognize what it means, just what it is, but not what it means, not what the purpose is. And, I remember writing on the checks, like you said, but it's like, hey, listen, guys, like, you're going to really need to know how to do this. I just feel like in a lot of ways they didn't empower us to understand the severity of what we were learning. And this is just one of many, many problems that I believe government has the capacity to destroy and also the ability to rebuild. And the sad part is all those people that are like, don't talk about politics. Politics are not something to chat about. Don't watch the such and such. And, every politician's corrupt, blah, blah, blah. It's like you continue to indoctrinate that over time. And like, that's how we end up in this shit. Sadly.
Yeah. And I feel like, I've always said from day one, like since I was little, I've always been like, live free or die. That's always been my motto. I was born in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. I guess that's where I got it because that was kind of their state motto. But I've always had that ingrained in my mind is live free. And by, to me, living free means leave other motherfuckers alone. Let people do what they want. If your neighbor's an asshole and does whatever your neighbor's doing, as long as it's on his property and he's not doing it at frickin' 3 a.m. when you're trying to take a nap or whatever, or sleep, like just let him be free. If he's some crazy cuckoo guy, let him just be a crazy cuckoo guy. We're in America, the only nation where we have the freedom to be crazy and do what we want, supposedly. And so I always thought of it that way. And then, as I got older, like you said, I mean, I literally, and I talk about this on the show quite a bit, is, up through high school, I was always, my family, my grandmother, my mother, they always voted Democrat. And until I was 18 and actually got, the first time I got to actually sign, like, oh, I'm able to vote. I got my voter's card. I was all proud of it. And I'm a Democrat, and I'm like, oh, cool, I'm a Democrat. And then it wasn't until like my mid 30s where I was like, dude, the Democratic Party's freaking, I don't even get it. Like, what are we doing here, guys? We're trying to save the planet, but in doing so, all we're doing is throwing money to other countries or to some giant union or whatever we're doing. But are we really saving anything? I mean, are we shelling money out, and that money, it's like magically Mother Nature absorbs the money and it fixes things? I didn't understand it. So like in my mid 30s, I was like, this is all bullshit. This is everything I've believed, everything I was taught, everything my grandmother stood for and believed in the Democratic Party, everything my mom stood for in the Democratic Party didn't make any sense to me anymore as I got older. And even to my grandma, to the day she died, and it was 08, yes, 08, she passed away. Even to that day, if she knew I voted any other way but Democrat, she'd be pissed. That was just how she was. Now, my grandfather was not. He was Republican. They would say that every 4 years was when they'd have to, you'd be like, you guys ever argue? Because they never argued. And it'd be like, yeah, every 4 years we argue. And it's, that was the joke in the family. And yep. But when I got older, it was like, I started really, like you said, I just started analyzing things better, like asking the questions, like, is this real? Like, just like you said about war, like war does stimulate, but what does it stimulate? And who has to suffer for it to stimulate something? Mm-hmm. Who has to die for it to help the other side of it? And so I did change parties when I was like in my mid 30s, and I was like, I'll be Republican. I'm not sure what it's about, but I'll be a Republican. And then, now as we reach like this stage that we're in now, I look and I'm like, as sad as the events of everything going on is, like, I still support the same ideology and policies that Trump had done for the past 4 years. I still support the Republican Party, not as a base, not as a party. I'm not going to rally behind the party because I feel like the party sucks right now. I think the Republican Party's really done a disservice to not only its base, but it's really done a disservice to the people that follow them. And I think it's been the same on the Democratic side for years. It's just nobody wants to wake up and say something about it and stir some feathers up. But I now I'm at a point where I'm like, I just don't believe these two idiots are what's running our freaking nation. Like we have a two-partied system that's literally ruled every aspect of our life, every law that's written. Every time I've had cuffs on my wrists, it's because of some lawmaker from either side of this two-party system that's telling me that they're doing good for me. And I'm just at a point now where I'm like, and I've always, like, my friends are like, oh, I vote independent. You should have been an independent. And I'm like, what does that do? What do you stand for? What is it that your party independently does besides stay neutral and not want to be, in the middle of it? What does that do? And I never get an explanation. So I'm like, I'm not going to be, I just never felt independent. I always felt like my policies and the way I think and is more right side. But I do, I talk to a lot of my liberal friends, and I'm like, I do agree with, I don't agree with all your nonsense with the global warming and this and that until you show me the evidence. However, I do believe that we need to, obviously take care of pollution, obviously address our planet, but that's not something you have to be in a party to do. That's something where when I go to the beach down in Florida, I see cigarette butts, I pick them up. By the time I get to my hotel room, I throw them out of my pocket. That's just being a human being and just being accountable to your community and to the earth itself. So it's like, I find myself now in this conundrum of like, I guess I'm no longer wanting to be a party person. Like, I'm not going to be this two-party person anymore. I just want, like you said, I want to educate myself on how I can change, make better change in my community, make an impact locally, so that hopefully local impact will spread out to be a more regional. And then hopefully that'll just, I pray that the waves will kind of, wake other people up.
Well, we have this.
Yeah.
And we have this.
That the most powerful device in the world right there in your hand.
There is no local. When you have those, you have the ability to disseminate information on a macro level. And anyone that has, like, this is the thing, is like, not everybody wants to talk and be recorded. Not everybody wants to be on this side of the camera.
Right.
And I always say, like, if you don't lean into the things that you're not afraid to do that other people are, then you're not taking advantage of where you have an advantage. You know, I like public speaking. I could speak to a million people.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, one of their greatest fears is public speaking.
Yeah.
So for me to go into public speaking, immediately I have an advantage.
Yep.
Now the 80% of people don't want to do that, or are afraid to do that, or can't do that, or whatever you want to say, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, make it even smaller. How many people don't like how they look? They don't like their hair. They don't like their facial features. They don't like their nose. They don't like their skin, whatever. They have acne, whatever. They don't want to get in front of the camera, and maybe they do like to public speak, but they're afraid. Now you're ahead of them.
Right.
So it's like, if you're leaning into your advantages, you know, you can, that's how you can have the most impact. And it's like, here we are on the camera recording, like we could make a real macro, like a mega sized impact, and we can change stuff at the local level, which is obviously super important. But the fact that we're recording these things, and in theory, preserving them for what could potentially be forever.
Right.
Forever.
Yeah.
It's like, you have the ability to thought influence and thought lead permanently. I would almost say that you have more of an ability to do so now than maybe at any point in history. And I've said this on other podcasts. Imagine if you could watch a podcast of Thomas Jefferson when he was 25, 30. You'd be like, what was this dude thinking about?
Right.
What did he look like?
It would be radical to see.
It would be
whoa.
It would be the most insane thing you could watch.
Yep.
You'd watch something right now of Abraham Lincoln telling you how he thought before he went and did X, Y, and Z, what he was thinking when he was 20. Well, if we would like to make ourselves to be people of great influence one day, which I try to believe that that's where I'm going to go, and I'm going to work, and I work every day towards doing that. I think about what could be the significance of this conversation. If this conversation got 3 views in the next 15 years, and then in 1 year it got 5 million views, think about the importance of it, and not recognizing that importance in that moment now. And that's why I think about all these things that are recorded and placed. It's like, you have the ability to influence people for a lifetime. And think about this. Imagine if your kids were like, you want to watch a video of grandpa when he was 45? That would be awesome, you know?
Yeah.
And like, what really kind of like landed this home to me is I was leaving a review. I was on Google Maps, and I was leaving a review on like a park.
Right.
And I remember just being like, this park is so awesome. And I remember looking at the park, and it had 4 stars. And I was like, let me leave a review on this park. And I just thought to myself, this park is always going to be here. And you could really make a hell of a case to think that in a lot of ways, Google's going to outlive you. So it's like, Google Maps is going to exist. I'm dead. My grandchildren could go to this park and read my thoughts. And not only that, see my pictures of me being like, this is an amazing park. 50 years from now. That's crazy. I would love to look at some stuff of my grandfather at such and such that would be like, so that's the type of stuff that I feel like my ability, and I think all of our ability, if we can simply recognize the significance of the moment and what is happening right now, and how important each individual conversation, especially ones that are recorded, has for a millennia of time, we would think differently about the words that we put out and how we portray our thought process, because it's like, this could go nuclear one day, and maybe it doesn't, but maybe the one person that watches this is Donald Trump at 18 years old, and now 50 years later is the president, leader of the free world. Think about how one person on one podcast one day, 50 years later, could be leading tens of millions of people. That's the type of stuff that like lights me up. Is you don't know who's watching this. You don't know what they're going to do. You don't know how far it can go. And imagine if you had one conversation with Donald Trump when he was 16 years old about how to treat blank. A kid was getting beat up at the park. Donald Trump sees you save the kid, and you tell him, you know what, man, you see somebody that's down and out, you help them out. And then years later, this dude does that for 50 million people. Like, that's the type of stuff. It's like a single conversation, a single thought has the ability to just stretch a magnitude of distance over a lifetime. And that's the type of stuff that like really lights me up. Is we don't even know how important this stuff is, especially stuff that is recorded.
Yeah, and I think it's huge. I mean, obviously being in the technology age, and obviously in the past, just because of the last year pandemic stuff, that the podcast industry has just quadrupled. I mean, it's everybody's a podcaster now, and I think you make a very valid point. It's very important that we document things. It's very important that we, because now we have more of an opportunity to do so than ever. And like you said, it takes one thing. I mean, it could be anything in life. I mean, I remember examples that kind of made me who I am, from whether it was my father or just different family members or just people in my life, influence mentors. But it's just those certain things it take. Like you said, it takes one thing one person hears, and it can totally change the dynamic of the direction of that person's life or vision of where they want to be. And that's crucial, and especially in this day and age where we have nothing but followers. Everybody's a follower. And there's not, we're seeing less and less leadership in our nation, especially from our actual leaders. We're seeing less and less. It's all about group think. It's all about, this is what's popular. This is how you need to think. And if you don't, then what do we have? Which is the next topic I wanted to hit on. What do you have after you don't group think? You have censorship, like we're seeing now. I never thought, honestly, in a million years, when I was growing up in 2 Live Crew, and the freaking rap world went after free speech, and we saw like that was like the civil war of civil wars for when I was young, and I was like, that was crazy. It was like, oh, Uncle Luke just won in court for free speech, and now every rap album can cuss all they want and talk dirty about whatever. That was so impactful then, and now I'm looking now, and I'm like, where is freaking Uncle Luke right now? Where are these guys? You see him on social media. I've reached out to Ice Cube's PR person several times because I want to talk to that guy. I want to talk to Ice Cube, someone I listened to growing up. I want to listen to what he has to say about his black contract for America. I want to know where this all goes. And so it's kind of one of those things, like those guys fought for censorship then. And now we're living in a world where the president of the most powerful nation and the only nation where you can be free cannot even speak on any platform anywhere in the world. And it's just insane to me.
Tragic. And yeah, I mean, when I was in high school and middle school, it was like Eminem is causing people to be violent.
Yep.
Marilyn Manson.
Oh, that was massive. Everybody was a devil worshiper,
Oh, Columbine kids listen to Marilyn Manson. Dude, that's the thing, is like a power that is unchecked takes small bits of over time, and each outburst, each incident, whatever, is an opportunity to make a greater power grab. And when you think about the what is it, the Patriot Act after 9/11, those types of events are not only happening and then freedoms are taken, but once you realize that when that happens, you could take it, what's to stop you from just making it happen?
Correct.
That's the point, is that we all get smarter. We get smarter. You put two rats in a box. Eventually they're going to figure out the way, even the most basic of an animal. So people are the same. If you know that a crisis allows for you to take and wield and steal more power, eventually it'll get to the point where you create it. And not only that you create it, but you create the environment in which it can thrive. You don't even have to make it. You just have to create a powder keg and then give somebody else the match, and it happens. And then like in comes the capital, and we can't even talk about it. And like, I don't want to bring us there because we'll get fucking clapped.
We'll get banned. We'll get, next thing you know, FBI is knocking at the door, wanting to question us of what we know. Yeah.
It's tragic. And that's the thing, is like, that's the house on fire. You and I, we see a fire in the kitchen, and everybody else sees 80% of the house is fine. And they're like, whatever. Meanwhile, you and I both know, and millions of Americans know, that it'll only be a few minutes before this whole place is lit up.
Yeah.
And those are the people that freak out. Those are the people that recognize the severity and significance of this moment. And it's sad because we are probably not the only people in history that have been able to identify these problems, but every single person is frog in boiling water, is frog in lukewarm water until they burn it, until it heats up and they die. That's how it is. And it's tragic because there's going to have to be some major cataclysmic event that could change this. And I would almost even say, because they've grabbed stranglehold of all the influence and all of the thought, it may not even be possible for that to happen. So it's like, if they can control your ability to communicate, your ability to spread and disseminate free thought, and then they have control of the media, the mind, they have control of the government, the structures, it's like, that really could be it. And it's like, it's sad because you want to believe in, like, you know, it'll all work out. And like, I do believe that. I try to keep a positive mind, but it gets to a point where it's like, yo, just so you know, like, dollar hegemony could go. China could take over everything. Their economy could eat us. Then we owe them billions and billions, trillions of dollars. Then they got a stranglehold over Joey Baseman, his family. We know based on Tony Bobolinsky and all of that evidence. Maybe we don't know, whatever. We know that they're in there. You know that Eric Swalwell was with a Chinese spy, yet this dude's still in his position in the intelligence committee. You know that Nancy Pelosi is the most hypocrite of all hypocrites that ever was a hypocrite. You know that Schumer is a hypocrite. You know that AOC is bought and paid for. This girl doesn't even know what planet she's on. She's out here towing the line. She's nuts. You got Ilhan Omar. There's so many things that question even her validity. Then you got every single person that disagrees with me is a racist, a xenophobe, a white supremacist. And if you're a white person, you're automatically, why? Because I'm white. You're the racist. You're the racist saying I can't say shit because I'm white. I just happen to be white. I didn't choose this shit.
Right.
Here I am thinking differently. You're going to say I'm a white supremacist because I fucking disagree with you. That's bullshit. You're the racist. I'm not a racist. You're fucking racist. And that's the thing that's sad, is that I fear that many people don't have the time. I'm not even going to say they're not the mental capacity. I'm just going to go pure simple, the time. And if you muddy all that time up with a whole bunch of shit, people are like, what's on the football game? Like what's on what cartoons on? This sucks. And
that's the sad part, is the distractions, how easily it is to distract people from just educating themselves. I mean, it's just like you said, it's as simple as turn on a sports game, the Simpsons are on TV or whatever it may be, and people are just immediately drawn away from actually working toward the solution of a problem that's so major it impacts everybody.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but at the same time, I try not to be like, I remember when I was on the other side of this stuff and I was watching other people, I remember thinking to myself, if I ever had the ability for someone to care what I think, I got to make sure I bring the heat. And there was a lot of things that I remember thinking, like, if I ever have someone's attention, I got to be a person that says, I'm going to do something. I don't want to be the blame guy. I don't want to be it's all fucked up because of all this stuff. It's not about that. It's what am I doing? So yeah, that stuff sucks, but what am I doing? We got to wake people up. We got to make conversations with people. We got to spread the cause of liberty, freedom, personal governance, small government, sound money. We got to teach people how to get their money right, get their finances right, get their focus right. Love America, love free speech, love the Second Amendment, love the First Amendment, care about politics, think that it's interesting, care about these things that are taking over our lives. Pay attention to the lies that are being told about the situation right now. Pay attention to deception over time. Stay acutely aware. Keep your bullshit meter on. All of those things are important, because the thing is like that. One of the things that I've realized is that we don't even understand how immediately influenced we are by the people we know, like, and trust. We don't even get it. And I don't even, it's like, I'll be thinking a certain way about something and I'll talk to one friend that I trust and I'm like, whoa, they'll blow your whole mind, friend. And you were like, this is what it is. And then you're like, holy shit. And that's the thing that's amazing about like a book or a podcast. Like someone could say one thing that just blows your brain apart. And that's why these conversations are important. Like I watched the Tony Robbins special on HBO or Netflix or whatever it was. And he said, life happens for us, not to us. And I was just like, that single sentence, I think honestly was the most important sentence I've ever heard in my entire life. I was sitting there like I couldn't fathom what depths of my soul that opened up. It was almost like life is a video game and I got to the next level. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, now I'll never look down again.
Right.
It's like life happens for us, not to us, for us, not to us. Holy shit. Every struggle, every problem, every bad relationship, every negative, every loss, every kick down, every stomp in the dirt, every depression, every fucking thing is for you, not to you. And it's just like now I wield ultimate power and responsibility over all that I have. Imagine if we could all think that. So it's like, I just try to say that sentence to people because it's like, we're a single thought away from our next greatest thing. And I remember listening to Gary Vee, and he was like, you're one piece of content away from being global. And I never understood the significance of that until it happened to me. And it's like, I had 1,500 followers, and then I had 31,000. And it's just like, it certainly was work, but it's like, I got 60,000 views on a video in one day. And that was because it was 13 years of research, being prepared, right moment, right time, right passion, right thing. The universe conspired and was like, all right, Bobby, get it.
This is your moment. Yeah.
Get it. Here you go. There's the fucking door. It's open. You gonna run through it, or you gonna fucking sit here on your ass? And I was like, all right. I was like, let's go. And like, it's being able to be prepared. Like, luck is when preparation meets opportunity. My high school football coach always just said that. There's no such thing as luck. It's when preparation meets opportunity. I've been preparing mentally, financially, my job, my life, my mindset, the things around me, all the stuff, the research that I did. It wasn't for nothing. And it's like, here's the opportunity, rip it. And if we can all understand that, like, each day is an opportunity to get closer to that greatness, and you could be the leader of the free world. I used to think you had to go to Harvard and have a last name Bush or blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, here's Donald Trump, businessman, boom, president, leader of the free world, maybe quite possibly one of the most significant human beings to ever exist on the planet in 4 years. Wow. Could you imagine? From making real estate? That's amazing. That's us. That's you. That's me. That's anybody. That's anybody listening to this. You have limitless, unlimited potential. And the structure, the frame, the rigid box in which you think that you have to live is not that. It grows and it evolves, and now more than ever. And we all have the capacity to take control of it, to rip it apart, and to make it malleable in a way that makes a better world. And we can do that through conversations. And that's what I think you and I are trying to do right now.
Exactly. And that's what, part of the Two Party Podcast, that's really what I try to do, is just bring good conversation. But at the end of the day, if we're helping one person out there, to me, that's important. I talk a lot about accountability too. And I mean, everything you just said ties into accountability, being accountable for your finances, being accountable to your education, to learn and ask questions about things that maybe you were taught, but you don't know any alternatives to. There's always, somebody told me a long time ago, it's just a stupid phrase. There's more than one way to do something. There certainly is. And so everything you do, is there a way to do it better? You got to question the things you do daily to be a better. I always I talk a lot about, I try to be better each day than I was yesterday. And that's holding myself accountable to my wife, holding myself accountable to my son, being a good father, good friend, good husband. Back in the day, I was an asshole. I mean, just straight up, I can admit it. I mean, I was not a nice guy. There was a period of time where I literally had friends that I was not even allowed to come over and hang out and go to parties with them, because one day I went over and stole the keg out of the party and went home and drank it by myself. I was just an asshole, and it's like, nowadays I aspire to be better, and I want to be a better husband, father, friend. My legacy that I leave behind isn't about my life. My legacy nowadays is what I do each day. That is my legacy. So when I go to sleep tonight, my legacy is, who did I impact today? What did I do? Did I help somebody? And I've challenged, everybody on the show, everybody in the audience that knows, I've challenged everybody. I do a lot of live. I talk about it. Everybody, I challenge them to help one person a day, whether it's a spouse, your child, whatever it may be, but I encourage it to be a stranger. That can be holding a door for someone, giving a compliment to somebody at a store, going through a drive-through and paying for the car behind you. Anything. One act of kindness each day. That's 365 acts a day or a year that we can literally impact someone else's life. Somebody that could just have walked out of getting their ass beat by their spouse and going through turmoil, and we may just say a compliment or give them a smile, and that may be enough to remove them from that moment at just that time for a second. And what we do, being accountable to ourselves, it makes us accountable to others around us. And I think you give a strong message by saying we have to use our voice, we have to use our platform, but we have to really seek our talents, and we have to utilize those talents. Like you said, the opportunities, there's always going to be opportunities. what we do with those opportunities.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking on politics and just the course of the past year, I mean, the opportunities have been there for the GOP to make changes. They've held the Senate. They could have made all kinds of great legislative changes. What did they do? They sat on their hands. President Trump tried his best he had opportunity to make all kinds of changes in 4 years. He did everything he could physically do without being, berated against. And so he did accomplish a lot of great things in 4 years, but his hands were tied as well. And that's the thing is, like, we have to see it, run and go all in on it. And I think really what's important to me right now is family. Obviously, my health is key to me. I mean, I'm every day I'm working out. I wake up as early as I can. I get at least an hour to 2 hour workouts in, and then I go to work. And then, if it's a day, usually Thursday, Fridays, I'm in the studio doing podcasts. The rest of the weeks and days, I'm usually out, doing construction or bidding jobs, or lately I've been doing some new ventures with some friends. And so I just find, like, we have to get past the events of the past. It's just like they tell you, like, don't dwell on the past. Well, let's not dwell on 2020. Let's not dwell on the loss of an election. Let's not dwell on Trump and the secret operation that's not ever going to happen. Let's start, that kills me. Yeah, I mean, the Q-tard stuff kills me. It really does. I still have friends, literally, I still have friends posting daily, 1-3, 1-3, it's coming, 119, 121. And it's like, nothing's coming, guys. The only thing coming is Lady Gaga is going to be at the inauguration singing, running the anthem. And then you've got, basically the celebrities and anyone with money and influence now owns and rules our country. That's what's happening. You've got a party of people that are supported by big money that are now going to dictate how you're going to live and all your legislative qualities.
It's a grim outlook. And as much as I want to believe that, there's going to be the Kraken release, and I think that there's a lot of substance to a lot of that stuff, not all of it, but a lot of it. It's kind of like the example I give to people is like O.J. Simpson.
Yeah.
We all kind of think, and like
pretty sure,
and we're probably right, but you can't prove it in court. It didn't happen. And that's the thing, is it's like the thing that messes me up is, it's like, in the event that Donnie is playing 5D chess, as everyone has suggested, and those Dominion voting machines were used. It's not like they weren't used. They known that these were bad for years. Why didn't he start talking about this in 2017?
Yeah.
Why did you know what I'm saying? You got all these, the mail-in, like, why did the Republicans allow? Because these things all had to pass through. They had to pass. So it's like, you got a lot of people that are corrupt. It's either like everybody's corrupt and the corruption just won this time, which I think is probably highly likely.
I'm leaning towards the corrupt has won.
So what that means is the severity of that, if true, is like, that's it. We have nothing. If we can't vote and we can't stop it, and we got all these spineless people in there that are bought and paid for.
Well, and you can't even take it to court. Yeah, and you can't take it to court. And I think the biggest thing for me is, and I think obviously you and every American out there is, give it a fair shake. At the end of the day, they presented. I'm not sure if you listened to the hearings. I was listening to some of the congressional hearings on the impeachment stuff, and I was listening to even on the certification stuff. And a lot of these lefty congressmen, leaders, whatever you want to call them, would step up and they'd say, well, he had his chance in court, and every court all the way to the highest court said there was nothing. And they kept reiterating that there was nothing, there was nothing, there was nothing. And the thing that gets me is that there was something. No matter even if you were in some little podunk town in the middle of nowhere, there was something that was it wasn't normal in this election. In a lot of states, almost every state, I think if we went back and reviewed 50 states, I think it's not just the swing states. I think the swing states were made a big issue. And I think that was part of the legal battle that he had and his legal advisors. They made a mistake by assessing only the swing states. And they should have just said, we want to investigate the entire election, not just 6 states. And I think that was part of where they started going off track, is making a focus of these are the ones that will help us win versus all of this election's bogus. And I think what we got to look at is there was evidence, no matter how you look at it, there was inconsistencies in every state, in every election, up to the 1% mark, which most states is law to review and audit. And so I think by the media, by them having the corrupt power of the media to bury the articles or bury the facts, basically, we got duped. We didn't get the fair shake, and he wasn't going to get a fair shake in court. And when you reach a point in any country where your court system isn't going to hear both sides and review evidence, they're literally going to kick it out. And then the next court takes it and they kick it out. And then the Supreme Court takes it and they're not even going to look at it. What's the point of the Supreme Court if we can't have them review lower cases, And so that's where it's like, to me, like you just said, did the corrupt win? Yeah, the corrupt won. Because you can't even get a fair shake. If you and I went and got arrested doing something stupid, we can't even go to court. We can't go to court and expect to get a fair trial if the president of the United States can't get an election looked at.
Yep.
And that's the kind of the nation we're in. And just like you were saying, I mean, I'm trying to think positive. I'm trying to move forward and not focus on the negative of it all. But I am focusing on what I can do and what anybody can do to just make more impact. I've said from day one, I say it a lot. I used to get involved a lot with our local city council and city politics. And I tell a lot of people, whether it's for you or not for you, you still need to know what's going on in your local community. The way you get involved with making change is you step up for your local city council. Then you go from city council to your state level. Then you go from your state level and you just keep stepping up and learning about it, the process. And that's one way to impact if you're that type of person, if you're wired that way. The other way is, like you said, it's literally about getting the information out there, sharing, speaking up. And I heard the interview you had the other night with a friend of yours. I can't remember his name, but you were on there live the other day.
With Ian.
Totally. I love that guy. Total respect. I watched that for quite some time and I caught it and just very intellectual conversation. And at the end of the day, it boils down to what I heard him say that I really liked was a misinformation. There's so much crap. People are just shooting shit right out of their mouth and you hear about the Q-tard stuff and this and that. And what that is most likely that is a left-wing idiot sitting in a basement typing this crap up for people to believe, and they're falling for it. And they're like, oh, look at how stupid they look now. They're falling for this theory I made up. But what I liked about Ian was saying was that we've got to stop the misinformation. People got to stop just posting what they think or they believe they read is right. And you got to actually post the facts, and you got to stick to the facts. And I loved hearing that conversation between you two. And when he brought that up, like, there's so much crap out there that you really got to focus on the facts. And a lot of people won't, but the few that will, you, I, him, and some of the audience that's listening, I know that's the key to all this. Like I said, I got my press credentials. They literally sit in here now because I get calls and I don't even want to go. I don't even want to go do stories. I don't want to go do any of it. I don't want to deal with it because I know they're going to send me in, and no matter what I put up, the editor is going to turn it into some bullshit story. Yep. They're going to take whatever fact I bring up and make it an op-ed and change my headline.
It's infotainment.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is at the root of all things, which we all hate to admit, but is so true, is that money dictates what happens. 99.999 times out of 100, that's what it is. And you can't demonize money, but because it's just an instrument, it's just like a hammer or a screwdriver. It's just a tool. It's like a car. But ultimately that's where a lot of people cave, is that you don't have people that have that interest of all, that have that backbone, that have that community, that have that empathy, that have that, I don't even know what it is, but not everybody thinks like us. And that's the sad part, is that a little bit of money can dissuade people to do really bad things. And a lot of the times this stuff happens this way because many are motivated purely by greed. And they'll make their news organization an activist organization if it sells more ads. And I get it. Survival. It's survival. But we all have to understand, which I think is an important message, is that if we can only be aware that that's happening and understand that just because you see it doesn't make it real, just because you hear it doesn't make it real, just because an institution or a person suggests it doesn't mean that it's real. It is up to us, and only us individually, to validate any piece of information that comes into our life. And
Correct.
it sucks. It sucks. Trust me, it sucks. But it's your responsibility. 1 month on news, eggs are bad. The next month, eggs are good.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's different. We got to take, and you said it before, personal responsibility. We all have to be more cognizant of the importance of personal responsibility and how and the example that sets for others. You fight with police officers, you grab a knife, you get tased and you kick a police officer in the face, you get shot.
Yeah.
Sorry. Maybe you should have fucking thought about that. That's not about black. That's not about white. That's about take some responsibility for your shit and don't fucking stand up for these people that are whatever. I was watching this. I follow a lot of the left-leaning stuff just because I want to understand both perspectives.
I do the same thing, and I don't see anything wrong with it. I do that. You
Have
to know how the people you're discussing or wanting to have a conversation with, you have to know how they think.
Yep. I was watching this thing about this guy that recently got executed. And, it was like this black guy. They're like, this guy, like, oh, the Trump administration savagely, slaughtered this guy, whatever. And they were talking about how he changed his life, turned his life around, whatever. And I'm like, all right, let me give this 5 minutes of time. There's 10,000 comments of people sharing. I'm like, let me give it 5 minutes of time. I read the story. This dude and his buddy, they got into a car with people that they intended to rob and steal from. The guy shot him in the head. The guy lit the car on fire. The woman burned to death in the trunk of this fucking car.
Yeah.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Fuck that guy.
He changed his life, though. He changed his life.
Fuck that guy.
Exactly.
Yeah, good for you, man. Fuck you. So it's like, that's the thing is, it's like, I'm sorry, but you murdered two people. You burned some. I don't care if you're 19. The guy was 19. I get it. And maybe there's more details to the story. And, for anybody that's going to be triggered by that, forgive me that I don't know more than what I read in my 10 minutes. And sure, I could be wrong. But if it's true that that's what he did, and it seems to me like it probably is, I don't think it's a black thing. It's like this guy got caught. He went. Obviously, the guy was in prison for 30 years. Like they had every opportunity. So it's like, like I'm not saying that the guy needs to die. I'm not saying capital punishment. I'm just saying, should we be mourning and celebrating and saying that this is some horrendous act and not talk about the personal responsibility of you burned a woman to death?
Right. And like, the difference is he's the headline, not the woman who died in the trunk.
Right. I'm like, what? And I wrote a comment and I was just like, what am I missing here?
Right.
Like, and it's just, that's the thing is it all comes back to depth, and really what it all comes back to truly is time. And if we can only spend time, and the thing is that it's so easy to rally behind groupthink now. If you wanted to agree with the mob back in the day, you'd have to be out there agreeing. Now you're taking a dump and you just fire a post off and you're like, I'm virtuous.
Yeah.
Don't come for me.
You throw your pitchfork from the toilet, you know? For lack of a better analogy.
Right out. And that's the thing is I'm like, it bothers me because, and I've said it on my posts a million times. It's like the people that are the least aware often are the loudest. And it's sad because I know so many well-meaning people, good people, smart people that don't look beyond the depth of what USA Today says about something. They don't go and look at 7 perspectives. They don't look at it from both sides. They don't take the time and that alone and their disposition to like, I know what it is. I'm going to read things that validate my theory. I'm not going to look at it from the other side. It's just tragic because you have well-meaning people that are otherwise very good and very smart and very intelligent, very capable, that get trapped in emotion. And I think in a lot of ways get manipulated by their emotion. But what I will follow that up with is I am not infallible. I'm not perfect. And I am subject to the same things as you. I see it.
I fall for the traps every once in a while. I catch myself and I'm like, I was a dumbass. I read that article. I believed even 2 words of it and I'm a dumbass. And I do it too.
If we could only spread the message of let's all get better and let's try to validate depth before we speak, it would be better. And the dissemination and the negative and all the bad, I think that a lot of that stuff would go down. And it's kind of like when people say, if I recycle my stuff, it's just one person recycling. And it's like, if everybody thought that, then we'd have no recycle. You know, it's the same thing. It's like, except I think even more than recycling, even more than not eating meat, if that's your thing, even more than driving an electric car, is how you behave as it relates to ideas and thought. And I think that that has far more of an impact, although not a physical, tangible, real impact that we really don't understand the severity of. And here we are thinking that we're so good because we drive an electric car and we don't fly on the plane as much as we have to. And, we don't order out, we order in, we buy local, blah, 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 whatever it is. But we don't think about our thoughts and the things that we say and do in the same way. We're just like, well, I'm good because I do all these things. I go to church, or I have a Kia, I have a Prius, whatever. If only we could understand that our thoughts have that same type of impact. And all of us get better. Like, I'm not going to sit here and blame. Like I said, I'm not infallible. I make mistakes too. It's just that if someone's going to take their precious finite time and listen to what I have to say, I'm going to try to say, let's all get better. Here's a simple and easy way that we can change the world by just simply thinking differently ourselves, acting differently, speaking differently, and taking a little bit more time to research the depth of something before we sound off, and not virtue signaling. And I think that those little things will impact mega over time.
I agree. You and Ian talked about evil the other day, which I thought was very interesting, because that's kind of what we're up against here in the world. A couple of things I want to touch on before we get off here. I know you're a busy man. I don't want to keep you too long. Vaccine, what do you feel? Yes or no?
Well, I think that first and foremost, I'm not a medical professional, so I don't know. And that's the thing that's sad about those, is that the vast majority of people aren't. It's kind of like, I was just saying to my friend the other day, she made a video that was appealing to business owners. And I'm like, 95% of people aren't business owners, and it's like, so as it relates to this topic is touchy because I'm not a medical professional. What I can say is that I think there's a couple things that I think are important. One, I understand the value of vaccines. I understand that a mass of people needs to be vaccinated in order to prevent certain things like polio and other stuff like that. I understand the severity, and I'm not anti-vaccine, right? Because I don't know. Again, like I'm not outwardly anti, and I'm not outwardly pro. I would say that I'm more pro than not, to be honest with you.
Right.
I'm not going to sit here and be like the polio, like I don't know, because I don't have that depth of understanding. So I would say that I'm probably more pro. I got a flu shot. I got one. Look, but what I will say is, here's the obvious facts. You have the fastest vaccine ever brought to market without long-term human trials in the history of time. Okay. You have several different companies that are saying that it's 95%, 93%, 90 whatever percent effective, whereas the survival rate is that high as well. Higher.
Right? Yeah.
I have a different look on things because I'm lucky. Don't get me wrong. I've been blessed with good genetics. I take care of myself. I exercise. I eat right. Yeah. I get sunlight. I try not to be stressed out. I stretch. I've done yoga many times, and I lift weights. I do cardio. I make sure that my air filtration system in my house is clean. I make sure my water is clean.
It's all about taking care of yourself. I mean, you got to stay healthy. I mean, at the end of the day, even if this wasn't a pandemic, you got to take care of yourself.
Right. So it's like, I don't have pre-existing conditions. I'm in my mid 30s. I'm white, it's like all of these things. So I'm generally in a low risk class. So it's easy for someone like me to be like, well, anything, like my immune system is fairly good. And I'm not going to, I personally, it's not something that I think I need to, or think I want to take. Certainly not now, maybe someday. Certainly it seems like they're going to force it on me, but it's not something that I want to do. So for me, the answer is no. In fact, it's more of a hell no. Yeah. But at the same time, I'm not going to act like I know what it does, how it works, or any of the details of it. I just know that all I can decide for is myself. My parents are 65, 68. I know my mom wants to take it. I'm sure my dad probably will as well. That's their decision. I'm not going to even
Mm-hmm.
spend time thinking about it. I pray that it doesn't hurt them. But at the end
Right.
of the day, what my parents told me growing up, and what I'm so thankful for them for, is they never told me what to think.
Right.
They taught me how to think, and they let me make my own decisions and my own mistakes, and thus allowed me to celebrate my wins myself. If I did it, I did it. They didn't do it. They didn't force it on
Mm-hmm.
me. You know, my dad, when I was younger, my dad wanted me to get a job. He's just like, why don't you think about this? Why don't you think about that? He never forced me to do anything.
Right. You're going to
But
go to McDonald's. You're going to work there.
but he walked me in and let me know that it could be done.
Yeah.
And hey, if you want to take it, you don't. They encouraged me in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
And in a lot of ways, it's like, but they didn't tell me to do it. And that was what was so amazing is, you know, my mom was a bank teller when I was growing up. And they were like, why don't you think about being a bank teller? And I'm like, how the hell am I going to be a bank teller? I didn't even think that was like, I'm like, I'm not even smart. And my dad's like,
sure.
My dad's like, let's go. You know, my dad is one of those guys that like makes relationships with everybody. And he brings me into the bank one day and sits me down with the manager, and he's, you know, having a jam with the woman. And he's like, you know, we got this smart, good looking guy here, you know, give him a shot. I worked at that bank. There was the longest job I ever held, 2.5 years. And what I learned there was amazing. He didn't, you know, and it's just that like he knew not that I would necessarily thrive there, but that this would be good for a variety of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't tell me why. He just like, this might be good. I don't know. Do what you want.
Yeah. And let you pick up the gifts that you would learn there. Yeah.
My mom, when I was really young, when I was in first grade, second grade, my mom convinced my brother and I to do ballet. And there was 3 guys in the ballet class, myself, my brother, and one other guy. And thinking back on it, I'm like, how the fuck did she convince us to do ballet? And people would dog us for it. And like, when I think about it now to this day, my mom convinced me to do ballet by being like, you're going to be really good at soccer because you're going to be flexible. You're going to be hanging out with, you know, there's a bunch of cute girls in there. You're going to be really good at soccer. She didn't make me do it. She just encouraged me to do it. And now when I think back, I was on a stage in front of thousands of people. I loved that. I learned about dance. I learned about beauty, music. I mean, it was exercise. It was just so awesome. And that's the thing is like, my mom wasn't like, you're doing ballet. And it's those beautiful things that I think that's the type of thing that like great parents do. That's the type of thing that school could do. They could say, hey, look, you're going to be really good at soccer if you do ballet. And that type of logic, I think, could be applied in so many ways, especially here, like I said, with our message. And it's just, I'm so thankful for them. And really, I think at the end of the day, I try not to be mad or frustrated with people that don't see what I see, because in a lot of ways I hit the jackpot on the jackpot on the jackpot. 2 parents together, 35 years, born in America, speaking English, in a family that loved this country, went to a good school with great teachers in a great place, grew up in a nice neighborhood on a quiet street, you know, went to a blue ribbon middle school and a good high school, played football with great teachers, no alcoholics. My dad never kicked my ass. My mom was never addicted. Like I won on every level imaginable. And for me to me, I think about it sometimes where I'm like, could I be the greatest person the world has ever seen? Could I have the most significant impact ever with my pedigree, history, grown up, whatever the fuck? If I couldn't do it, then who could? Because there's people that grew up in Uganda, not to isolate in Uganda with one leg, that got shot in the face, that never knew their parents, that were escaping poverty, that have done tremendous things. And me growing up in a freaking playing Sega Genesis with parents that love me, I can't do it. So that's the thing, is it's like, how high can I go? How
it's
good
perspective,
can I
perspective. So, some people just have, I try to surround myself with people that are like-minded, positive, people that I want to be around. First off, I want to be around people that I'm going to learn and engage with. I want to be around people that stimulate me and promote my success. And so, I've shed a lot of the baggage, I call it, and weight from over the years. I mean, I still am friends with a lot of people. I love them. They're not going to be close to me anymore. It's not that I don't care about them. We don't have good memories, but they just don't bring anything to the table that promotes themselves or me. And they don't bring anything to the table. And it's not being selfish. It's literally just I want to surround myself with good things, good people, successful people, people that promote themselves in a positive light. And that's, to me, that's important. I call it adulting, call it whatever you want. But again, perspective. Do I want to live in this big tunnel of the life is shit, or do I want to live in a tunnel of it's awesome, things are good, and look at the good in everything? I could be walking down through a freaking alley in the middle of a sewage filled, back street, and there's good there to be found. It just stinks. That's all. You just perspective. Two other things I wanted to touch on. Now, we know this year is going to be different, shall we say. Economy is one, and the other one I want to touch on is real estate, because I have a vision that this economy, first off, today I just caught some of the crap media that we get, and I saw that now Biden's plan that he promised us $2,000 stimulus checks, now it's $1,400 he's doing. And then he's also going to start printing off his COVID stimulus bill is now going to be $2 trillion. So he's adding that to the one that they forced Trump to sign, playing politics. So some people will get the 600. Me and my wife, they told us that it's where we fall in the category where if we were to get the 600, we have to do it as a tax credit, which I think is crazy because we're not the only ones. There's other people that actually are suffering, non-business owners, people that are struggling right now, lost their job, who were expecting the 600 to kind of help them. And now they can't even get it because they have to write it as a tax credit. Well, most of those people didn't even work last year. So why are they filing taxes? And so now I was watching the news a little bit of it today. Now we went from Chuck Schumer and Biden saying, yep, as soon as, we get this certified, everyone gets $2,000. Now we're at $1,400. Now we're going to print off $2 trillion more dollars that we're already our great grandkids will be paying this shit off. If not, Chinese kids will be. And so unfortunately, I think where we're at right now is the economy is going to tank because if they're going to do all this right now in the beginning of this dude's presidency, there is no way we're not going to see some sort of a serious recession, which we're already kind of pre-recession right now. Business owners know it. I feel so bad for some of these businesses going under. And then, of course, the second vision that I have that I wanted to touch on or have you talk about a little bit is real estate. Because right now, I don't know how it is I know how it is in Florida because I have a lot of friends down there that are real estate. So I know the market there is amazing. When I left Florida in 2013, I had a house in Indian Rocks Beach that was about 150,000 on market. When me and my wife last were down in Indian Rocks Beach and looked at that house, it's going for $1 million, and the guy has not changed a damn thing. I think there's still a yard ornament in the yard from when I left. But it's so real estate's really taken off and doing really good. The markets are really amazing right now. Prices are really amazing right now. Not that I would want to get myself into it unless I had the extra money to do an investment, because I see what's coming. And so what I've been talking with a lot of people locally about, not just, it's not about doom and gloom, but it's reality, is the real estate market right now is peaked out and kind of at a plateau anyhow. I don't see it increasing no matter what situation we were in. It's kind of at a plateau everywhere. And I think we're fixing to see like 08 and 09 where there's no way it can't crash. There's no way prices and property values are not going to plummet right now. What do you think? Am I on the right lines? Do you even agree at all?
Yeah. I mean, I think that I listen to economists. I listen to successful economists a lot. And
I do too.
I listen to Peter Schiff, and he's very like, it's all going to hell. And I have a lot of respect for him and his perspective. I think the secret key that to me explains everything is the Federal Reserve Bank. Mm-hmm. And I think that it is the very highly likely, the single and only reason why we are not in this massive cataclysmic hellhole. Because when news is good, the stock market goes up. Yep. And when news is bad, the stock market goes up. And is it going up in real terms, or is it going up in dollar terms? So I think there's an incredible amount of inflation that's creeping on us that we don't even see. And that's the whole beauty. That's how government works. They just get you, they give you $1,400, but it's worth what $1,000 was worth 6 months ago. That's the whole game. They put 600 in your right while they take 500 out of your left, and you're like 600. So the Federal Reserve Bank is the crucial cornerstone of all of the reason why I think that we're not there. Now, on top of that, though, they've been kicking the can down the road for decades and decades and decades. And you could argue that they've been successful at doing so. On top of that, you have the U.S. importing a tremendous amount of goods and not exporting anything other than printed IOUs. So in the event that there was to be this cataclysmic clapping of our whole structure, it would be dollar hegemony coming to an end. It would be everybody being familiar that we've been goosing the structure in a lot of ways. And I think that that threat was never as omnipresent as it is now, specifically as it relates to China being in financial control of the world.
And them being our competitor as far as value of dollar.
Let's think about it. China has a larger population than us. China has a tremendous amount of resources. China has a lot of very large trading partners. China's people are in many ways oppressed and living in subpar conditions for pennies on the dollar. They export hundreds of thousands of young kids here that learn science, technology, and math, and then bring that education back there. We export all of our manufacturing skills, all of our intel, all of our IP, and they steal it. They manipulate their currency much like we do. And then on top of that, we're in debt to them. Now take all that and then put a arguably dictatorial kind of structure, a socialist communist structure. It's like, how is that not going to win? Then put somebody that's woefully unaware or aware or bought and paid for, that's, worked hand in hand with them, taking bribes from them in a lot of ways. Maybe, we don't know. Okay, what's the word? Allegedly.
We won't know now. We won't
Never
know. Hunter Biden will be chilling in the White House again.
So add all those things together, and I think that certainly could happen. I certainly hope that it doesn't, but it could. Now, I would say, so, I am a business owner. I got a PPP loan.
We did too.
I got an SBA. I got an SBA loan.
We had to.
Which objectively is like out of control. Low interest 30-year loan. I mean, that's like a mortgage. It's like,
I think our payment plan when it starts up this year is like $27 a month. I've never had a credit card that was $27 a month. Come on.
So I basically have like a mortgage. That's 30 years to pay off. And look, I'm thankful for it because it helped me. But but you know what I did with that money? In a lot of ways, I reinvested it. I bought equipment for the business, and it did some of what it had to do. But what it allowed me to do is it allowed me to not worry so much about my personal savings being there to support the business. So I took some of my liquid personal savings, and guess what I did with it? I bought stocks. So I didn't use SBA loan money to buy stocks, but it made me more comfortable in the business that I wasn't going to need to pull out of my pocket to finance. So it enabled me to take my personal liquid savings and be more risk averse with it, and put it into stocks and buy other things. Like you could buy a nicer car, you could buy a nicer, you could make an upgrade at your house or whatever is the case. And a lot of these things are good. It's not all bad, but the point is that artificial injection of stock market money, because I'm using printed money, which is nothing money, which is inflationary money, is what is largely responsible for a lot of this. And I think that we're going to see a lot of that at the gas pump. We're going to see a lot of that in the grocery stores, and I would say that we already have.
I think we already are, and
Already
with me in the construction industry, lumber is through the roof. You try to get pressure treated lumber at this day and age, it's off the chain. To even most stores are out of it as soon as it comes in, and if not, it's double the prices.
And then they're like, Corona.
Yep. Yep.
Nope, that is the most easy scapegoat. So again, it's like the fucking house is on fire and it's surrounded by an inferno, and we're in the living room like it's fine.
Yeah.
It's like, like, bro. So yeah, what I will say is I do believe that holding hard assets is better than the cash.
Correct.
And I would agree that real estate may go down, and it probably will. However, I do believe that hard assets are better than cash. And I believe that even above that is cash flow. And so I would say that real estate historically is a good bet. It has ebbs and flows.
Always has been. Yeah.
So it's like, I think if you play the long game and you purchase real estate or purchase hard assets or cash flowing assets, that would be very wise.
Yeah.
Is the U.S. stock, you could buy foreign stocks. It's like, we could certainly buy foreign. You could buy foreign stocks. You could buy utilities. I mean, like, put it this way, let's say that the world goes to hell. Okay. I have stock in Verizon.
Right.
I'm not going to have a cell phone, but I'm just going to cut. So it's like, it's one of those things. It's like water. Like you need that. So to me, I'm like, what else goes up in down times? It's kind of like beer. I've heard this example used before. It's like when the economy's shit, you sell a lot of beer. When the economy's good, you sell a lot of beer. Anheuser-Busch, good bet. Everybody wants beer.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And I mean, that's a bad example now because there's seltzers and blah, blah, whatever. But the point is, it's just one of those things where it's like, it's good in good times, it's good in bad times. I think that, I'm not a financial advisor, but what I would suggest is that generally speaking, in order to grow wealth, you have to have your money in assets, cash flowing assets. The worst thing you could have is cash. And I think that real estate is probably historically always a good bet, so long as you don't bite off more than you can chew. And in theory, if you don't pay for it, I would be focusing on where I'm buying it and the ability for that place to maintain and sustain over time. You buy something in South Florida versus New York State right now, that's a great bet. You look at places that have more freedom, and again, all roads lead back to the big bad government. And that's the thing, is that these things are dictating what's going on. You're in New York City and you own a restaurant. If you make it out of this shit alive and you have a restaurant in New York City and you don't think to move it to South Florida or something, or somewhere,
it makes no sense not to have already left that place.
Can't imagine why you do that. You're going to be in San Francisco. It's illegal to have it. You can't serve a fucking sandwich to somebody outside in nature. That's insane.
But they can poop on your porch.
Poop on your porch.
Yeah.
So I think that there's a lot of risk associated with all this stuff. I hope that us sounding the alarm helps us get there. But generally speaking, real estate, historically, traditionally, probably a good bet. Hard assets, cash flowing assets, always good. Will the economy tank out? Maybe. I think that in a lot of ways, we're kind of we're gaming the system a little bit with the Federal Reserve Bank, but at the same time, we've been doing it forever. I guess you could say, on the bright side, at least it's our team and we're not somewhere else. But I think the sad part about it is like, there's a lot of reasons why other nations would be like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know what to make of it. All I know is that we got to make sure that we can create independent wealth for ourselves in some way. If you got a 9-to-5 job, you better come up with a side hustle. You better drive for Uber. You better drive for Postmates. You better do an Uber Eats. You better do some side jobs, cut some lawns, shovel some driveways, whatever you got to do, wash cars, do something, but have a side hustle, an independent income stream that you can have to protect yourself in the case of a downturn, and save money if you're that low. Don't go paycheck to paycheck. And I think that if all of us take more personal responsibility for finances, like the economy is down for a month and people are like, I'm dying. It's like, yo, why are you in line for food in a car? Like, I get that. And I feel horrible for those people, but like, you got to prepare for yourself. Like, and I hate to say that. And people are like, white privilege, you don't get it. You have blah, blah, blah.
That when I hear that, it kills me when it's like, everybody's struggling. Like you said, I get it. You get it. I don't want to see cars lined up going to an elementary school to pick up snacks for their kids. Nobody wants that. Absolutely. I think I don't care who you are, what aisle, what heritage, culture. nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see kids suffer. Nobody wants to see families suffer. I don't want my neighbor to be homeless. I don't want my neighbor to have to struggle. But at the end of the day, you know, the people that are standing there and they're pointing fingers, like you said, and it's, you know, white privilege and this and that and the other, I absolutely have to dismiss it with ignorance. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Either be a part of your accountability and make a solution for your family and yourself.
Yep.
Or don't be judging the person that did. You know, because your neighbor decided to be successful and have a business and run it properly, not milk off the business using the corporate credit card, doing stupid crap with his wife, buying her whatever. Do that. You know, start making successful, accountable choices to your family, to yourself. Set yourself up. You know, the biggest thing, you know, growing up, we all heard it. You know, save money, save money, save money. I can't even count how many people I know, friends of mine that are my age, 45-year-old adults, some older. I just had a conversation the other day with a woman who's 60 something years old. And she's like, yeah, me and my husband, we're going to go find some property. And I'm like, dude, you're 60 something years old. You don't have property yet. You know, this is a new thing to you. And she, well, then we're going to get it. And we're going to have the government pay. And we're going to get a Section 8 loan. And I'm going, wait a minute. You're freaking 60 and 70 years old. And these are you're making choices that like a homeless 17-year-old should be doing that lost his parents. So it's like, to me, it's like, just be accountable, but don't, you know, when I hear people pointing blame and white privilege and, you know, these are the reasons why that guy's successful and I'm not successful. No, the reasons are choices. The reasons are accountability. The reasons are perspective of your life. You know, if I'm judging my life and putting my life on a scale next to Bobby Sausalito, I'm not going to ever get successful because I'm too busy focusing on him getting successful. Right. And that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
Sadly, and you're absolutely right. I mean, that's an uncommon disposition. Sadly, the theoretical leader of the free world and his cohorts are constantly saying, good, hard paying job. Job is your identity. And I'm from Scranton. I don't know any guys that have stocks and fucking AOC. Oh, I don't know any, most people, I don't have money for corn, but I don't have stocks. Dog, there's a lot of cheap stocks.
Yeah.
Stocks are 50 fucking dollars. What do you mean? You go to eTrade.com, you make a free account on eTrade, you buy a share of fucking Uber. It's $56.
I did penny stocks last year, just sitting on my couch with my wife, me and my wife watching Netflix movies and stuff, and me on penny stocks on my phone. And I invested in Moderna and I invested in all these companies I knew were going to make viruses. Bam. I cashed out, made $100 on penny stocks. Yep. And I'm like, I don't understand why you guys can't invest in anything. $20.
You're not going to look down your nose at me. You're going to have a stock. It's like, no, that again, it's victim mentality. Yes. It's propagating the victim mentality. It's AOC acting like people that own stocks are rich. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't make myself to be rich. And it's like, and when I started buying stocks, when I was 25, I started buying Facebook stock because I knew that Facebook was going to go up. I'm an internet person. I knew it. It was $35. It was $40. When I got a free $1,000, my bank account had $2,900 in it or $3,500 in it. And I bought $500 worth of Facebook stock when I had $3,500. No one told me to do that. I could have bought a watch. I could have bought a car. I could have done any variety of things, but I had no money and I bought that. And then I put in another 5 and another 5 and another 5.
And that's the secret, is to reinvest. You know, a lot of these people, they make that money cash out and then they're like, I don't know why my stocks didn't take off. Stay out of your stocks or reinvest it.
Buy one share of Uber. It's $57. Uber's a huge company. It's growing gangbusters. I think it's going to be great. I have holdings in Uber. I like Uber. I think that ride sharing is not going away. I think that it arguably will become more and more prevalent around the world. I like Uber Eats. I like Uber Freight. I like all the movement of people and of people and items. Great. Cool. $57, $0 trade. You buy a share of Uber. That $57 over the next 10 years could be $200. Okay. There it is.
Yep.
Shut up. You don't need to be rich. It's just horseshit. It's like, that's the Joey Basement, AOC. That's their mindset. You're a victim. You go to work, you work hard in the mills, and then you come home and you're a good old American. It's like, dog, being financially nimble is what we should be aspiring to. Don't sit here and say that everyone that held stocks is rich or some corporate fat cat.
Yeah.
Your average person should be buying stock. Don't say that. Go buy some stocks.
Yeah.
Maybe sell the car that you have and take the bus for a while and invest in some stocks. You know what's one of the worst investments in the fucking world? A car, unless it gets you to work. So it's like, shut the fuck up. So again, it's depth of understanding. So many people don't have that, and they just propagate this victimhood mentality. The only thing that I will say, which is a negative of it, is like, if you got financially destroyed as a result of like a health issue or something like that, I feel for you. And nothing is a blanket, all in totality statement. So I don't want anyone to take it that way. But like, look, the simple nature of government is that someone's going to be disappointed. That's just it. And that's life. Yeah. Things are up and down. You get some, you lose some. That's what it is. That's the balance. That's duality. That's yin and yang. That's life. That's nature. So we just got to know that a forest fire burns all the brush that falls and clears it out to prevent the next one. A hurricane jostles up the trees, jostles up the nature, gets the ocean moving, helps life thrive. That's the type of thing. That's Earth recycling and rebuilding itself. Life does the same thing. People do the same thing. Money does the same thing. Don't be a victim. Learn it. Enhance it, harness it, and take responsibility. And like, we can all be better. We should be encouraging each other to be better, take control, take responsibility, and the world be a better place, instead of this victim. I'm a victim. Like, the world, everything is stacked against me because of X, Y, or Z. It's like, fuck. Yeah. There's never been a greater time in human history for people of all walks of life to prosper as right now, right here, right in this moment, especially in America. So that message is a complete horse shit, and it saddens me that that's the shit that gets broadcast out. And these are the theoretical champions of the little guy as they squash the little guy with these negative thoughts. And again, like we said before, it's those thoughts. It's the thought dissemination. That's where the real problem begins. And here they are at the top. Joey Basement, AOC, Bernie Sanders, living wage. You need a living wage.
Right.
Okay. You're going to fuck so many people by making the federal minimum wage $15. You don't even understand.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that's just tragic about all this, is that we gotta keep fighting to get this message out, because before long it'll be too late.
Right. And it's funny you touch on that $15 an hour. I keep hearing these people pump this $15 an hour. And Joe, what do you call him? Joey Basement. He said the other day, he goes something about 50. It has to be 15 minimum and up, and I'm thinking, listen, first off, I understand it from a logical point of view, how much of a disaster it is to just jump things up like that. However, from an actual business and growing up working, I've owned businesses since my first business I owned when I was 16, and I've always worked. I've always been a hard worker. But to me, it's like, hold on a second, $15 an hour in 2021? That's still like $8 an hour. That's still bullshit wages. So if you're going to raise the living wage and it's going to cost everybody millions of dollars, you're going to hand everybody $15 an hour who is not good stewards of their money.
The minimum wage, there should be no minimum wage.
No, it should be, you should be valued. No, you should be valued at what you're worth. What kind of an employee, what kind of an asset you are to a company. What kind of salary do you deserve? If you go to McDonald's and you're spitting in people's food and you're throwing it out the drive-through window at them, you don't deserve to start out at $15 an hour. You don't.
There's no such thing as deserve.
Yeah.
Not deserve. Mm-hmm. It is market set prices and private agreements between an employer and an employee. There's no deserve.
Yeah.
It is a market dictated price. If you don't like that price, work somewhere else.
Yeah, there's options. That's America.
If you don't live in the right town and that town doesn't have opportunities,
time to move.
Look, I'm sorry, but it's what's his name? I forget who said it. I forget his name. Whatever, his name's not important right now, but he said it's easier to wear slippers than carpet the whole world. And that's the thing, is like, change your shit, figure your shit out. We can't save everyone.
We're human beings. We're adaptable. We're like the most intelligent species that we know of.
Yep.
Why would we not be able to move, adapt, and do different things?
Yeah, like, I can't move. Well,
right. I'm trapped. Why? I'm trapped. No, you're not. Get off your ass. There's homeless people that still get up and they're living in Nancy's district, and they wake up and they freaking poop on someone's porch and they go about their business and hustle each day.
Sometimes
they go back to their tent.
Yep. Sometimes you got to cut things loose to make more prosperity. And quite frankly, sometimes you got to take a step back to take a leap forward. And that's the thing I can't sell my house because the market's depressed and my dude, work online then.
Yeah.
I mean, what the fuck? Learn a new trade. Like, all of these things, again, it's personal responsibility. It is.
I think my new thing now is going to be when people approach me with that attitude of like, I can't do this, I can't do. I'm just going to be like, well, then right now you need to focus on getting a counselor, and you need to go get counseling, because you're stuck in that perspective that's just not ever going to serve you. You're never going to succeed with the perspective you're living in.
You know what's the best counselor? YouTube.
Yeah. Oh man, what YouTube? It's ridiculous.
Dude, I learned how to build websites on YouTube. I took some classes on how to build websites. I was already ahead at the class. By the time
I'm falling asleep during class.
By the time technology gets made into a book, printed, made into a curriculum, graded, scored, and put into a thing, it's already next level. It's already next.
Yeah.
I remember I took website class. I'm like, if I want to do this, I got to be at the cutting edge. I got to read the latest article. I got to be saying what Google says about SEO, how to rank on Google. I got to understand structures. I got to know what's the best management system. I taught myself how to prosper. No one told me how, no one guided me how. And it had nothing to do with my skin color. It was pure grit and pure foresight, introspective thought, being able to have the right mindset at the right time, working hard. I put in sleepless nights. We all have our story. But to dismiss me or anyone else or a millionaire and say you stole that, fuck you. Like, people, like I've said so many times, like, do you know how hard it is to make $1 million? And we're out here demonizing rich people. Like, are you kidding me? You know how much good those people have done by and large?
Nothing makes me cringe more, Bobby, than when I hear tax the wealth or tax the wealthy. When I hear that term, when I hear these stupid politicians talk about taxing people that have worked their ass off to build a company, build a brand, build themselves, promote themselves. When I hear these people like, well, they shouldn't have all that money. Why should they not have all that money? Because they didn't sit on their ass?
Yep, that's right.
That is one of the worst things I ever hear. Listen, bud, I don't want to keep you much longer. We could do this all day long for sure. I love the conversation. This has been great.
Yeah, we covered a lot of really good stuff. I think that was really good. I mean,
we've been on here for, I wasn't even expecting to go this long, man. But when you get in good conversation, you take it where it goes.
I hope it helps people, and I appreciate you. I appreciate the opportunity, and as I always say, I very much appreciate the people that are giving us their precious attention by listening. So for anyone that's listening, thank you. I appreciate it. I hope I left you better than you were when you came on, and let's take responsibility and promote freedom and liberty and personal governance, and let's keep winning.
For sure. I love it. And real quick before we get off here, go ahead and tell the audience where they can find all of your merchandise. We're looking at the hats right here, the Patriot, the big blue right here, the shirt he has on.
This is my buddy Ian's account.
Okay.
Ian Wenster on Instagram. Give him a plug. This is my hat, the big blue Bobby Sausalito hat, and this is a Bobby Sausalito shirt. So the merch is at bobbysauce.com, BOBBYSAUCE, bobbysauce.com. All my links are in the footer there. I'm at Take Naps on Instagram, at Take Naps on Parler if it ever comes back,
right.
And then Bobby Sausalito on Facebook and on YouTube. And but my home base, the epicenter of my wokeness, is at Take Naps on Instagram.
Awesome. And I encourage all you guys to check out his videos on YouTube. If you guys, I always catch you on Instagram because I float back over there, back and forth between media when I'm kind of bored sitting around. But that's where I catch all your lives, and I encourage all the audience, go check him out live. When he comes on live, you just catch some. Sometimes I'm listening to you and I'm like, he's in one of those moods. And then sometimes I'm like, no, he's kicking off some good stuff. He's talking about stuff that needs to be heard.
Yeah.
So I love that. So President-elect Bobby Sausalito, guys, yeah. He has been on the show. So here we go. I love you for being here, man. Have a great day. I will definitely have you back in the future. I'll touch base with you later in the year. We'll see who's surviving. We'll throw pitchforks from the toilet at each other or something, It's going to get crazy. So we're just going to buckle in and enjoy the ride.
Yep. All we can do is control what's up here.
That's it, man. And just stay positive, man. Stay healthy, stay positive, keep doing you. And I'll catch you on some of these lives too. You have a great day.
Thanks, brother.